And I just want to take a few minutes this morning. Too cold outside to do anything on the Alpine. 20 degrees and the wind's blowing at about 25. But talk about these converters for a minute. You need to know where your converter is located at in your Alpine, and you need to know where it's at in case you have a problem. On the back side of that converter is two 40 amp ATC fuses, and if those blow, it's not going to take very long and your batteries are going to be dead and your Alpine is going to be completely dead, even though you're plugged into shore power. Without 12 volts to run your HVAC, to run your in-command system, to run your furnace, your fireplace, air conditioning systems, water heater, water pump, all those things, you're not going to be very happy. So we'll try to explain where the converter is at and what it actually does. Okay, I'm going to take a quick video to try to show you where your converter might be located at. We're inside the basement. In fact, let's back out of here. You'll see there's a rear access door, and of course all the junk that we have in here, and of course the train has to come by. But if you look back in behind here, inside of all of this junk, down in the lower left corner is where the converter is buried at. And so that's what provides all of your 12 volt DC to everything that needs 12 volts in your Alpine. So if that converter fails on you, you can see what a pain it's going to be to try to get to it. You've got to open up your basement door, and then you've got to pull all the crap out of there, and then get that rear wall down, and then crawl back in there to replace two blown fuses. Hopefully that might be what your problem is. Or if your converter's dead, you're dead in the water until you get a new converter. Or if you carry a battery charger like I do, then you can simply hook the battery charger up and worry about the converter later when you're somewhere near an RV place where you can get a new converter or fuses if you need it. And I wanted to check and see what kind of parasitic draw we had this morning. So we've got the amp meter clamped onto the positive lead going directly to the DC bus coming from the converter. And it looks like we're drawing a 1/10 of an amp parasitic draw. And that draw is for the LP detector inside, and the converter is not running right at the moment because the batteries are fully charged, but just various little parasitic draws. So we'll turn the battery cutoff switch off and see if that has any effect, and as you can see, it has no effect. And so those parasitic draws are still there. You saw it drop down to nothing for a second, but you can see that we're actually still drawing. It's a minuscule amount, but over a period of time, if you're stored and you're not plugged into shore power or have a solar panel or something, your batteries are going to drop down. And we'll switch the battery cutoff switch back on, and you can see there's just a little bit more draw now inside, but nothing is on. We haven't opened the fifth wheel up, but we're going to go do that here in just a second. And just for curiosity's sake, we still haven't gone inside the fifth wheel yet, but we're going to measure and see what the converter is actually doing. And you can see the converter is in the float mode right now, so it's at 13.2 volts, and so it's maintaining the batteries. It's not overcharging them. It'll never overcharge them at that voltage. And so a lot of people say the converter will burn your battery up. Well, You can look at this amp meter and you can see that here's living proof. This Alpine's 8 years old, and the converter is 8 years old. It's a WIFCO 75 amp converter, and 3-stage. And so it's doing what it's supposed to do, and it will do what it's supposed to do if you keep your batteries filled with water and keep the connections good and clean. Okay, so we've just finished extending the slides out. It's 21 degrees outside, and you can now see that the converter is putting out 5 3/10 amps, and it'll slowly drop back down. And we'll take a look at the voltage reading here, and we'll see what the voltage reads. We were seeing 13.2 after it had been sitting idle, and right now we're seeing 13.1, and that's about normal. While we're getting that output on the converter, the voltage will go back up as the amperage drops back down coming out of the converter. And we'll take one more look-see at the amperage draw, and about 4.5 amps, dropping back down pretty quickly. And you can tell that at the rate that these two batteries are charging back up, that even though they're 8 years old now, these two GC2 6-volt golf cart batteries are pretty darn awesome from Costco. And as promised, here's another short video, and this is the converter output to the batteries and the draw on the batteries. We're showing a 1/4 of an amp, and that's after about maybe 10 minutes and of running the hydraulic slides out, and very cold weather, 20 degrees out, and the wind chill is probably about 7 degrees. We've got about a 25-mile-an-hour wind. So you can see the amperage has dropped off. It was about 5.5 amps after I ran those slides out, and we're back down to next to nothing for output from the converter and draw. And then we'll take a quick look-see at the voltage reading on these batteries, and you can see we're back down to 13.24 volts. So the converter is doing just what it's supposed to be doing. And at 13.2 volts, like I said, you can tell that these two GC2 golf cart batteries, after 7 or 8 years of use, $89 a piece. I'll put these batteries up against any of the LiPo batteries or anything else out there. I just can't see spending the money on those fancy batteries, but some folks like them. And if you got the money to burn, well, go for it. I'll keep my money in my pocket and buy a good beer and a steak instead.